less fun than tort law. Oh. Tort law is number one.
Okay. All right, so we're back in regular session. We will now be accepting public testimony in the following order: persons who signed up prior to the meeting date, persons present in the physical location, and persons online in the Zoom meeting. We'll start off, Ms. Tara Rojas.
Okay, aloha. And I also have my my son who also wants to testify. Ben. Ay, siéntate acá, está aquí. Ven acá, siéntate acá, siéntate aquí. Ven, siéntate. Oh, okay, well, puedes, siéntate aquí. Ven, siéntate, rápido. Okay, well, yes, first, wait, let me turn off the camera. Come, Ben.
I went to the meeting. You guys didn't go to the meeting. I want clean water.
So he was just saying that, you know, he heard that you didn't attend the meeting yesterday. Yet he did, and he testified to the Navy and the EPA regarding the need and his want for clean, safe drinking water for himself and his children. And again, I just, yeah, so this is the,
Name as well, sorry, for testimony.
what was that?
Can we have the full name for the testimony, please?
Oh, yeah, so my son, Eric Blanco.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And again, I'm Tad Rojas, and I just wanted to testify that, you know, can't stress enough. You can have many master plans, you can have many like developments, yet we all need water, and we are in a water crisis. And you can get updated just as well. There's going to be another meeting. They formed a community initiative, so a community oversight committee regarding the defueling of the 100 million gallons of jet fuel still above our aquifer. And just to bring your attention that if you're not in all of these other meetings that are going on regarding the jet fuel, the contamination, as well as other developments and things happening on this moku and other moku, that they are all tied together. And so we're listening to this master plan right here, and this is right now specifically regarding the Honokea Kakaeloa development, this area, that in February, there was the 86,000 gallons of raw sewage break that happened on Makule Road. And then a week later, a water main break on that same road. The infrastructure is ancient. When they started the sewer repair here where we are at, our building was the first one to be worked on. On that first day of uncovering the piping, you know, to expose the piping to work on them, they had an emergency water main break turn off and we got the message saying that they needed to do so because the infrastructure is ancient. And so any movement will cut it off. So we had water, and instead of 1 day of a full complete water shut off, we had 3 days total where we actually had to leave our house for the whole day because we could not turn on any faucet, flush any toilets, use any water. We had no water. We had to leave our house because there's no water. And here, I know you're discussing the plan and then the second wave pool, which is going to use to initially fill 7 million gallons of this fresh water that is compromised. That is the meeting we went to and that we're still fighting for. And at the meeting yesterday, they said the timeline is by January 2024. However, they're not going to be completely done. And there will still also be 100 million gallons still left in the tanks. 100 million gallons that they're not quite sure how they're gonna get to and defuel and by when. So it's gonna go way beyond next year, January 2024. This fuel above our water. And the testimony of my son that just testified, he's 9 years old. And the military family that left, that testified yesterday, she said her daughter is 9 years old and still suffers unable to control her bowel movements. Still to this day, at 9 years old, she has to use pull-ups and she has to wash the sheets like maybe 2-3 times a day for 9 years, and it's going to continue. And so it's not only military families, it's not only local community families, it's also especially Kakaeloa families, as you hear you testify, is because they're talking about the affordable housing development. And so a Kakaeloa, explain and testify about the Hawaiian Kingdom still existing. So we're continuing to talk about development. And there's even developers on Oahu bureau councils to protect iwi kupuna, which is by law necessary to respect, because they are the stewards and the master caretakers of this aina.
Ms. Ross, can I ask you to just summarize?
So my summary is, without water, we have no life. We're going to build how many master communities that, again, Red Hill was built without the permission nor approval. It was just done. Just like the TMT, which is the aquifer there, is compromised. Ours is compromised right now. And so to please keep in mind that without water, none of us, including yourselves, none of us have life. So water is life, and to keep that in mind as you're looking at this proposal for a water park, a wave pool that is going to be using our fresh water that will not be free from danger until well past January 2024. Mahalo.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Ross.
Is there any other public testimony?
Aloha. Moleka here speaking.
Yes,
Can you, I'm sorry, can you state your full name for the
Monica
record?
Hicks again.
Yes, sir. Aloha board, HCDA and all others. I am Moleka once again. Malumale umu le'eno Nathaniel Hicks. I am a board member of Nakia'i Waiha. We are an unincorporated organization geared to protect our natural resources, our vai, our land, and our air, as well as our iwi kupuna and our mauka tumakai ahupua systems of old. I just want to touch upon an HCDA's environmental assessment for Kakaeloa Heritage Park on September 2014, starting from page 30, that states, in 1999, an inventory of all previous archaeological surveys was conducted as part of an EIS for the BPNA's closure and reuse. International Archaeological Research Institute, Inc. provided a synthesis of the cultural resource studies of the Ewa Plain with assistance from a number of respected cultural experts. Following the phase 1 survey, the survey data were recognized into cultural resource areas appropriate for phase 2 survey actions and for cultural resource management planning. CRAs include archaeological and historical sites, site complexes, wetlands, sinkhole complexes, places of importance, isolated artifacts, and areas recommended for further subsurface inventory testing. The cultural and historic sites identified in the phase 1 inventory are shown in figure 16 and described as: Site 1752 is a complex of Hawaiian habitation and agricultural structures, some of which were modified by military activities. One feature is believed to be a religious structure. Human skeletal remains occur within this site. Sites 1754, 1755, and 1756 are now included in Site 1752. Site 1753 is a complex of Hawaiian habitation and agricultural structures. The site is notable for a well-preserved section of a paved Hawaiian trail, an unusual feature of the Everplain. Human skeletal remains are present. Site 5130 is a small complex of sinkholes, many filled with bulldozed rubble. These sites were mapped in detail and excavated in the International Archaeological Research Institute, Inc. Phase 2 inventory resulting in the recovery of the habitation data. Sites 1752 and 1753 were recommended for preservation and are considered eligible for National Register of Historic Places based on the following criteria: associated with events that have made a significant contribution to the broad patterns of our history. Number 2, embody the distinctive characteristics of a type, period, or method of construction, or that they represent the work of a master, or that possess high artistic values, or that represent a significant and distinguishable entity whose components may lack individual distinction. And also 3, have yielded or may be likely to yield information important to our prehistory and our history as total. Also, the Kakaeloa Community Development District rules identify the Kakaeloa Heritage Park parcels as historically and culturally significant, whose features are to be preserved, protected, reconstructed, rehabilitated, and restored by the landowners consistent with implementing regulations of 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act as amended, and Chapter 6E, HRS HCDA 2012, page 215-246. An ancient Hawaiian trail mapped by Malden in 1825 is the earliest documented historical feature of this region of the Everplain. The trail is visible for approximately 1,000 feet in the cleared portion of Site 1753 in the Kakaeloa Heritage Park, with upright stones marking the edges of the paved footprint. It is believed that the trail connected the West Lock area near Pearl Harbor to regionally significant Kualaka'i Salt Flat, which is Site 5118. And also the sites in the vicinity of Kakaeloa Heritage Park, the areas to the south and east of Kakaeloa Heritage Park, contain number of cultural historic sites forming the One'ula Archaeological District, which this development is planning to develop on. This says this in you guys in this 2014 environmental assessment. There are complexes of Hawaiian stone structures and sinkholes primarily used for habitation and agriculture.
Can I ask you to
Summarize?
Yes.
In summary, yes, I will summarize. Mahalo for allowing this opportunity. So with all these findings within this environmental assessment of 2014, I am confused as to why we're allowing a development within the vicinity of these sacred historic sites in Kakaeloa within the Ahupua'a of Honouliuli to build a surf park that will include a 7 million gallon surfing wave pool, other recreational pools, restaurants, bungalows, and use injection wells, tampering with our water table to empty the 7 million gallon wave pool every other year. Why are we not protecting water resources? Why are we not protecting our iwi kupuna and historic sites in these areas? As stated in your September 2014 assessment, there are nearby historic and cultural sites in the vicinity. So I'm trying to understand, how did you guys, HCDA, give Honokea Surf Village the green light to go through with this development plan? I also read that Honokea Surf Village developers are partnering with Kakaeloa Heritage Park and sharing a 500-car parking lot. Now, Mr. Shad Kane, this makes me question the integrity of Kakaeloa Heritage Park. How can you guys partner with such a plan that goes against what you're trying to protect and preserve? Mahalo for your time.
Thank you. Next, public testimony, Kiera Rodriguez. Kiera?
Aloha, no. Can you folks hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Kiara Lorenzo Rodriguez, and I just want to state my intentions. And my intentions today is of Bahine Maole is to continue the culture and the importance that our kupuna stand for and all the Ike kupuna that they left us. I have to thank all the previous testifiers for laying such a great foundation, but I want to continue by saying the historic importance of this Eva Aina is so incredible that I don't think people understand that this was the biggest breadbasket of Oahualua. So you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of thousands of our ancestors lived in Noho'au in this space, and they call this place their home, and their essence is still there for us to be picked up on. The ocean there is one of the biggest producers of all of the limu that goes all the way to Kauai. This Aina, we just want you folks to understand, needs to be protected and preserved for our children, because this is our gold. This is the value. This is our wealth that we have, and we need people in place to protect it and continue to protect it. So from 7 to 21 generations from now, they can continue to eat the foods we eat and live the way we live. And with that being said, I just have to thank you folks. And I have to warn you, our kupuna is watching, so please continue to do the right thing. Mahalo piha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other public testimony? Any other questions or comments from the board? If not, we'll go to the next item on the agenda. And this is a decision-making item. Request to approve the Kakaeloa Community Development District operating budget for fiscal year 2023-2024 in the amount not to exceed $375,000, and authorize the issuance of a land user assessment in the amount not to exceed $375,000 pursuant to the Hawaii Revised Statutes 206E-196. Mr. Garrett Sasaki, Administrative Services Officer, will now present the HCDA staff report.
Thank you, Chair. The staff report is under tab 4 in your packet. The Kakaeloa Community Development District was established in 2002. The act didn't provide for staff and funding, but there is a provision that allows the authority to assess landowners. So the following pages, we have a operating budget, and the table after that is the allocation for each of the landowners. Thank you.
Members, do you have any questions for our staff report or Garrett Sasaki? Rapo?
Yeah, Craig, I have a question. You know, as I look at this, is a kind of a broader question that as we seem to be moving, or at least the state seems to be wanting to authorize new jurisdictions for CDA like Maui, et cetera. In terms of the operating budget, is that under discussion in terms of how we proceed as to what in the future will be included under our jurisdiction and how all of this gets funded? And I ask the question because I know you're totally pressed right now, budgeted out with what we're trying to do. And, you know, it's really critical that we have the resources to properly manage all this development and land use. So, and I'm not sure where we stand with moving forward with all of that.
Yeah, it's a good question, Member Uphold. You know, for districts like Pulehunui, you know, we have there is funding to build, you know, infrastructure in those districts. Now, in terms of an operating budget, it hasn't been discussed so far, but I think the model or the plan for like districts like Pulehunui is for us to develop the infrastructure necessary to support state lands in like districts like that, and then dedicate those, you know, improvements over to the county, and then once we're done with those, then I think we'd be, you know, done in the district. It's not an ongoing, you know, I don't envision it as an ongoing district beyond our, you know, our mission or the direction build the infrastructure.
Thank you.
Members, are there any questions for Eric? No? Is there any public testimony? Sharon.
Sharon G.
Sharon G. You have a public testimony?
Aloha, board. Just a quick question. Thank you so much for all that you do in Kakaeloa. We had one question regarding the proposed landowner assessment, comparing it to the prior year. It appears that DOT is not being assessed any dues, and so we had a question as to the reasoning for that. That's all. Mahalo.
Thank you, Sharon. DOT airports is not being assessed. And this is something we had, recently checked with the DOT airports administrator. Because of their jurisdiction and under, federal jurisdiction too, they are not allowed to permitted to pay these kind of assessments to the state, is what we were told. And it was something that was brought up a while ago, and then as we're determining these assessments, I checked with airports administration again to confirm it, and they confirmed that they are not allowed to pay these assessments.
Thank you. Is there any other public testimony? If not, is there a motion for the board to approve the Kakaeloa Community Development District operating budget for the fiscal year 2023 to 2024 in the amount not to exceed $375,000 and authorize the issuance of land user assessments in the amount not to exceed $375,000 pursuant to the Hawaii Revised Statutes 206E-196. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I so move.
Moved by Vice Chair Poole. Do I get a second?
Second.
Second by Member Ray. Is there any further discussions on this motion? If not, Garrett, can you call the roll call?
On the motion, Member Poole,
Aye.
Member Ray,
Aye.
Member Higa,
Aye.
Member Miranda Johnson,
Aye.
Member Hirai,
Aye.
and Chair Ishii.
Yes.
Motion passes. That's everything.
Yeah.
Motion
Member
passes.
Evans.
Member Evans, are you there? I see you're on, but not on video.
No, she's not on.
Member Nasser, she's done.
No, Nasser's not on.
No.
Motion passes 6 yes,
Suggest
2 excused.
and 2 excused, okay? Next on the agenda, the executive report.
Thank you, Chair. In the interest of time, the executive director report is attached at tab 5. Most of the things on there, we've already talked about, Kakaeloa's update. So I stand looking for questions.
Is there any questions for Executive Director Craig Nakamoto? He stands on his report. No questions? Well, thank you for those who joined us on Zoom in person or via YouTube. This concludes our business for today, and the meeting is now adjourned and the time is 1:50. Thank you.
Aloha.
Thank you.
Thank you.